Welcome back. Now it's time for us to go through the big stories making headlines today. We'll first go through the front page of the dailies as we get to my panel right after that. Front page of the PD, why 11 Kenyan MPs secretly visited Somalia. Legislators, members of President Farmajo's clan who left Nairobi without clearance to meet neighboring countries, top intelligence chiefs and government officials for undisclosed talks were arrested upon return for grilling. That's a key story right there, and of course the members of parliament who made that particular trip. That can be found in your copy of your People Daily this morning. Also in the PD, front page, how BVI has changed Raila's fortunes in Mount Kenya. Opposition leader using the handshake between him and the president to make political inroads into region that heavily voted against him in the last two polls. And of course, as the PD saying, this could be what Raila needed to change his political fortunes, and it's a story that you can find in your copy of your People Daily this morning. Also, House Budget Office raises red flag over Big Four agenda. Lack of sufficient funding and ambiguous priorities by Treasury threaten Uhuru legacy projects. That's a story that you can get as well in your copy of your People Daily. As they say, it's Kenya's #1 free newspaper, so get it and get fully informed as to those stories right there. Front page of the Daily Nation focusing on the same big story, revealed secret of MP Somalia trip. Tough questions for 11 politicians who secretly left Nairobi on Saturday for Mogadishu, where they were hosted and dined by President Farmajo in what could herald a fresh diplomatic tiff between Kenya and its neighbor. Lots of questions being asked as to even the process that should have been followed but wasn't by these 11 MPs, and you can find that story in your Daily Nation. Also in the Daily Nation, seclusion for travelers from Italy and South Korea. Of course, these being countries that have also experienced a heavy toll when it comes to the coronavirus spread, and that's why CS Kagwe just taking matters into his hands and trying to steady the ship as far as this is concerned. You can get that story in your copy of your Daily Nation this morning. In the Standard, it's all about matters politics. Scramble for Kenya. A fresh start, the Standard asks. BBI presents the country's biggest political moment since the 2010 referendum. We're on the cusp of a new Kenya, and this is how it's shaping up. How politicians are marinating questions, the scramble for Kenya, as the Standard puts it, of course, and this looks at the executive structure and what really has been the mainstay as you look at the different BBI rallies and conversations that have been had, and that's a story that's in focus in your copy of your Standard this morning. And the Star, Raila gets free hand to woo Uhuru backyard. BBI meetings give former PM strategic opportunity to rebrand himself and build alliances. You can get that story in your copy of your Star this morning as look at that particular scenario. Finally, front page of the Business Daily, NSE hit 16-year low as blue chip stocks plunge. Foreign investors flee amid turmoil in global markets over coronavirus. And that's a story that you can find in detail in your copy of your Business Daily this morning. So our entry, as always on a Monday, definitely full. Let's get to my panel as we discuss these issues a bit deeper. We have Dennis Thumbi, political analyst. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We also have John Paul, another political analyst. Good morning.
Good morning.
How was the weekend?
Awesome.
Fantastic stuff. If it's a Monday, of course, I'm assuming she slept late. When she sleeps late, she gets to the show very early. And that's one of those, Nairobi Mawako, Executive Director at Siasa Place. Good morning.
Morning.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And for the first time, Cliff Mboya of IDEP. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Welcome to the show.
Asante.
Okay, let's jump into the big stories of the day. Start off with what really is a story that everybody's trying to dig and find what really led to this. 11 Kenyan MPs secretly visiting Somalia. And the big issue is, once they did not get requisite clearance, didn't tell the speaker where they were going, which is supposed to be done, and they went to meet intelligence chiefs of another country. Very many questions, Dennis, even from a security level.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, first of all, we have to understand this is a grave national matter. Extremely grave. Sometimes words can put, gravity of issues into place. And this issue was leaked by DMI, the intelligence wing of the military, the KDF. So that's how you know that this matter is absolutely deep. For KDF itself to leak info that 8 MPs that are Kenyan nationals, not part of a negotiatory conglomerate of the government, clan members of President Farmajo, have departed under the auspices of the intelligence wing of the Somali government. The very wing that has been aiding attacks against Kenya, by the way. And you understand that Farmajo, if we say rightly, is one of the enemies of this country because he has audibly declared war to the country. And not just that, he has gone towards messing up the integrity of our borders and a maritime war that we are fighting left, right, center. And I have cause to believe that maybe Ethiopia may be involved, but that's a different conversation that we're having in the security realms. The truth of the matter is that clan wars into Somalia clan wars, and these MPs are sympathetic to clan politics. Kenya has suffered the brunt gravely, all the way from pre-independence to post-independence, where we've had conversations of the Northern Frontier District that actually initiated a secession attempt for them to join the larger Somalia. And you realize and understand what it is that we went through the Shifter War, which led to the signing of a treaty, by the way, so that that can end. The then Prime Minister of Somalia, I think it was back in 1967, that signed a treaty just to end this, and it was in Arusha. And the Shifter War had many and serious casualties, perhaps documented to plus 10,000 thereabouts, that they wanted to secede the Northern Frontier District. Now you need to understand something. The Northern Frontier District is 3/4 of the country. It's 3/4 of Kenya. It's such a huge segment of this country that if anybody wants to secede it away, then we are left with a small, overpopulated segment of the country. And even today, grey secession attempts have been ongoing. For example, I saw them in Parliament asking for teachers. But they are the very same ones who have ensured that anyone who is not from their clan, who is not a Muslim, has been chased away professionally. And we are talking about professionals, whether it's doctors, whether it's teachers, that even some of the attacks that happened there, the entire clan and local populace knew, other than the professionals who are not from that area. And they were attacked and they were killed. So this is something that has happened. To date, any professional who is not a clan member, a Kenyan Somali, or who is not a Muslim, cannot own land or work peacefully there. Even a doctor who is qualified is being supervised by a technician in their hospitals. Because I'm a Christian, I'm qualified as a doctor, you're a technician, you're Muslim, so there you oversee me. And that is why even the conversations around BBI worry me sick. Because if we are talking about regional governments, then you have to balkanize Kenya into such heavy regions that are discussing about seceding away. And if you look at the structure of BBI, you have regional governments, then you have county governments. How does that conflict even play out? So the truth of the matter is that this is a grave issue. Because Kenya has suffered. And people ask, why is there only terrorism in the country and not in Uganda and not in Tanzania and not in other areas? The Northern Frontier District, these men that you're seeing pasted here, are our brothers, but they are the enemy of this country.
We're becoming more on that, of course, as well as the BBI and what it means, because it was there, and it took that particular talk to that front. John Paul, let me come to you, because even as they say, you're innocent until proven guilty rather, but when you look at this particular scenario, these MPs do understand their standing orders. They do understand what they need to do before they travel anywhere. It's very clear. For them right now, and for the meeting that they particularly had, it doesn't look like this was done in good faith, even from the onset.
Thank you, Mote. I will still echo the sentiments of Dennis. I think to me this is a very, very serious, we can call it a security breach, because these are people who left the country without the speaker knowing, without the Kenya officials aware of this meeting. And I think to me, Jubaland has been a crucial state and in terms of regional integration with Kenya. And what they did to me amounts to maybe treason, if there was, if they are to take maybe the legal route. And I think the agencies, the investigating agencies, have to sit down and, I don't know why they were released, because to me, right now, baby heads will be rolling. They will maybe charged in court. I know maybe it takes time to investigate because maybe they are not privy to what these people want to discuss. But to me, what they discuss is not the issue here. Why they left the country is the main issue. And this comes even after just recently the U.S. giving us an alert that we need to be aware about this security threat in our country. So to me, these MPs are enemies of the people, because if they were going in good faith, what was so wrong of maybe just alerting the speaker, telling them, hey, we've been invited for a coffee or for a talk to, because they claim that the president is the one who gave a direction, that they need to see how they can put the county and maybe Wajir, Garissa to bring peace and harmony. But to me, it doesn't go well with the state of the country. Secondly, I think the president, the way Dennis has said, the Somali president has to be put to task. And it's high time even the president, our president, because this is a Republican state, we are Republican, he should come out clearly and issue a decree or issue an order and say, hey, what you did is wrong, and we need answers from all these things that happened. Right. Because in the next few months, because the country, yes, we are at peace now, but what we are facing now with all the political intrigues that are going through, we might be caught off guard, because everyone now is concentrating on these rallies, the BBI. There's a time all the security agencies were in Kabarak, Nakuru, so everyone was saying the government is in Nakuru. So what happens to a situation like this? So I think this thing might get us off guard, and as a country, as security agencies, they need to put their house in order. These MPs have to be shamed, and they have to be put to task, and they have to explain. And just explaining is not the issue. They need to record statements and even charged. If treason might be the, I don't know if the last person in Kenya was charged with treason, but I think to me this amounts to treason.
Jerima, a definite tricky tightrope the president of Kenya will be walking in this particular point in time, because we do know what happened when the whole Somalia-Kenya maritime dispute started off. Really tricky in that particular scenario. Here we are with another of one of those spilling over. Do you think these two might be linked? And for the president, what move does he have to pull right now? Because clearly one wrong statement could send this the wrong way entirely. Absolutely. Because when the Daily Nation is talking about that the members of parliament could be facing espionage, it's something that even when you're working with government, as a person who's in civil society, you understand how important protocol is. So for a public official to go against protocol, they've already taken a stand. Even if they have explanations, you cannot possibly say that I forgot. That does not happen in our government. So they have already stated that when it comes to Kenya and following the protocol of the government of Kenya, we can bypass. So the president will have to speak loudly and take a stance on this, because it is a serious matter. It is a very sensitive situation, not only talking about the maritime or the border situation that we're in. You can also remember when CS Amina Mohammed was in foreign affairs, and it started during that time, and she was actually moved toward education then sports. But even when we talk about AMISOM, or the African Union Mission in Somalia, the fact that we have about 3,500 troops in Somalia, that has not been exactly fluid. We're talking about instances of corruption and even our own ties with our own citizens of Kenya. We cannot forget our recent census results, where we had a group of Kenyans saying, why did we have a category for Kenyan Somali? So that's also sensitive. So when we're talking about within our borders having a sensitive relationship with Somali and Somalia, then we're talking about our members of parliament actually going and being invited by intelligence without our government's permission. That's something that I cannot say that they are not linked in any form or fashion, but it's definitely something that our head of state, our president, cannot keep silent on, even though he's known for only showing up when situations are dire. It's something that he will have to speak about soon, including with our ambassadors. What do you feel would be the statements that we'd get if he doesn't speak out on this publicly, as everyone is expecting, and if he moves on to other issues, if this one just goes down the drain? What would that mean?
Wow, I don't think he can allow it to go down the drain, even if it means having CS Matiang'i say something as interior. Something must be said by our government. We cannot have our public officials traveling into a neighboring country to discuss national issues of another country, and nothing is said by this country.
Right.
Unfortunately, it will be a big blunder for our president if he stays silent on this issue.
Right. Okay, let me bring Cliff in on this as well, Cliff, because even as we talk about these 11 leaders, we look at the area in which they represent, and very many people say this is an area that's largely marginalized, and even as we try and get to grips with what happens there with the teachers having to move out of that particular area, the locals of that area also feel like they're not part of Kenya. That's why every time they're saying, when you go to Kenya, tell us how Kenya is. So from the ground going up, they feel that they haven't been accepted, they're not one of you, and clearly the divide goes from the bottom all the way up to their leaders as well.
Yeah. I think this is a very sensitive issue, and first we must first understand as leaders of this country, with democracy comes responsibility, and responsibility comes discipline. What these leaders are already alluding to us is that they don't have the incompetence of being to understanding what is leadership, what is discussed in even in the national ethos of loyalty and allegiance to the country, which also brings us back to the issue where we were saying about the ambassador. At what point in time is do you understand the issue of being a state officer and a public officer? When I'm elected, immediately do I become a state officer, so that from now henceforth, I know that my allegiance is to the country, not to where my passport is. You'll find some of them have two passports, Somali-Kenyan, Kenyan-Somali, or American. So this is an issue that needs to be discussed deeply, so that we have leaders who understand why are they going for the leadership position, and what is their responsibility towards the country. Our duty as leaders, right, the more that I can say, is how do we bring the country together, not to split it. Because I have just seen one very irresponsible comment from one Bill Okero. He says, let those not paranoid about NE people and their leaders know that we are not guests of any in Kenya. We can visit Somalia or any other country like others. Treason, go ahead and charge them. What are you telling us as a public leader? What are you telling us? Are you telling us that from now henceforth, we should be able to treat Northeastern as Northeastern and let them do whatever they are doing? Because we know, like he has said before, most of the things that are happening in Northeastern is done by the locals, and the locals know. Right. Just the other time when the sit happened, the attack at the sit happened. Few days next, there was a issue going on with the Chinese locals and the Chinese. The issue was reported as an Al-Shabaab thing, but later on it was found out that it was locals attacking the Chinese on issue of it was an issue of pride. So can we start understanding, are we part of the process of healing the country, or do we want to go back to the shifter time or shifter wars? Because those are the things which I think need to be addressed, and perhaps is going to be addressed through BBI, but it needs to take individual responsibility. Okay, and we're talking about the BBI, of course, it went to Meru. It has been in this particular region, so it seems like so far probably not the solution that's needed. But before we get into our first break, Dennis, because you have a bit of experience in the security realm, what do we expect, or what do you expect to happen as we move forward with this particular scenario of these 11 Kenyan politicians who've crossed the border?
First of all, this from a fragility assessment, this is a very dicey matter, because you're looking at elected officials who have the ultimate support of their locals. Because if you look at the traditional conflict that has been there for a long time, is that from where in 1959 they voted to secede to Somalia because they feel more associated to their clans in Somalia as opposed to Kenya. And by the way, it's interesting to note that even a lot of the money that is made in Isili is expatriated to Somalia. It's very important to note that, because if you ask yourself how much does KRA collect, they deal in dollars. Somalia is also in dollars. And I've traveled extensively in Somalia. And it's such a grave matter that it needs to be addressed now. And I believe this needs to be a public debate, discussed in Parliament, discussed in Senate, because it has a lot to do. You know, and this is a matter I'm sure that KDF is handling it from a very grave and intense matter, because it touches both the integrity and it's a threat to a nation, and also NIS is also involved because it's also a local matter. As
what do you feel are the options that the executive and the judiciary have in this? Will they be tried just like normal Kenyans? Does it go down that particular road?
Well, I believe, as opposed to perhaps use of force and going through the judicial way, there are many interventions that involve resolving a lot of this matter. We first must understand that this conflict is coming from Farmajo himself. It's coming from Somalia, sponsored to his clanmates at the end of the day. So we must cite where the problem is coming from. And we must see Farmajo as an enemy of this country. And that's absolutely important, because he has challenged us and accused us of things we haven't done. And now he's sponsoring the secession of this country, opening portals that we buried a long time ago through the Northern Frontier District movement. You know, we are talking about a war that changed the lifestyle of the Northeastern District, that ostracized it development-wise, because it was unbearable. I come from that region where you couldn't pass from Meru all the way to Nanyuki, because shifter is a bandit word for Somalia. So what happened is that there were guns, there were everything possible, there was illegal trade, name it. It was absolutely inaccessible. And the residents had to be forced into protected villages, or what it is that you can call concentration camps. It was a mess the way you've never seen. And until the peace pact or the treaty was signed, and can you imagine, this is Kenya. The war was in Kenya, but the pact had to be signed by the Prime Minister of Somalia at the end of the day. That saw the death of tons and tons of them. And we are talking about half of our country seceding to Somalia. Somalia is already big. Why do they need half of our country? So I think the first thing we need to do is audit the conversation of nationalism and patriotism at the end of the day. Those who we elect, how patriotic are they to the dreams of this nation? Because we are feeding billions of our shillings into Northeastern, but they are repatriating it to Somalia and making sure that Somalia developed more than us. They are actually accepting to sink this country further, even on the question of terrorism, and they are going in bed with Farmajo. So this is a matter that requires Solomonic wisdom at the end of the day. And I believe that the National Government Council and those who are in charge with external and internal security will be wise enough to adjudicate this matter permanently and with wisdom that requires the precision of a surgeon, not a butcher.
Okay, we'll have to take a short break at that particular point. We come back, we want to shift gears, turn on the happenings of the weekend, and it was all about, as far as the BBI is concerned, it was in Meru right there. The PD talking about how BBI has changed Raila's fortunes in the Mount Kenya region. We look at that particular story on the Star. Same story, Raila gets free hand to woo Uhuru backyard. BBI meetings give former PM strategic opportunity to rebrand himself and build alliances. But where is the common Kenyans question answered in all of this? We'll discuss this and more after the break.